Hello, my name is Matt and I'm your host for Just Cook It. In today's busy world, it's hard to find time to cook a good meal. Maybe you have a family or job commitments, or you just don't like to spend a whole lot of time in the kitchen, but you still want to put a wholesome, healthy meal on the table for your family. The thing is, healthy meals don't have to take all day to prepare, and that's what this show is all about. We're going to cook in a real kitchen with real food from a real grocery store, just like you would. Today we're going simpler. So welcome to my kitchen. Today's recipe is lasagna, so let's get busy and just cook it. Now, I've seen some lasagna recipes that are almost scary. What with having to make noodles and cook up a sauce, sometimes it can be a pretty big production. Today we're going to change that. We're going to use simple ingredients, stuff that's readily available at your local grocery store, and we're going to put it together simply. No fancy techniques or tools. We're just going to cook it. For me, this is an old family recipe. There's kind of a funny story attached to it. You see, when I was a kid, my aunt made lasagna when we'd go to their house, and I would eat that, but my mom could use the same recipe, and I didn't like that at all. Anyway, I guess that just goes to show everyone makes things a little bit different. You know what? That's okay. Today, we're going to be cooking my take on the old family recipe. I'm going to use 3 different kinds of meat and 3 different kinds of cheeses. You guys take a look at the recipe real quick and I'll get things going here. Now, for starters, we need to get the noodles going. We're not going to bother with making noodles ourselves. I just went to the grocery store and I got my family's favorite kind of noodles. We're going to cook about 9 noodles in here. We're going to start it in the boiling water and we're going to add just a splash of salt. There we go. Get the lid back on there as best we can, and it's going to the stove for medium heat for about 5 minutes. While the noodles are getting going, it's time to start on the meat sauce. Now, some people would really spend all day slaving over a stove to make this, but we're just going to cook it up quick and simple. I'm starting with a pound of ground beef. We're going to crumble this into our big pan, just like this. And I'm going to put it back on the stove on a medium heat so it can start browning. While that cooks, we're going to slice up an onion, a medium-sized onion, and I like to chop it up fairly coarse. And we're going to add that to the pan. While the ground beef and the onions cook down, we're going to add some garlic to the mix. And then we're going to get our prosciutto ready to cook. We're going to take our prosciutto and we're going to slice it into chunks about 1 inch around. That's going to be big enough for us to get our teeth into when we eat. Now, prosciutto is basically a cross between a ham and a bacon with a nice Italian flavor to it. It's going to give our sauce kind of a sweet and salty flavor. Now that we've chopped it up, nice coarse chop, we're going to add this to the ground beef when it's about 2/3 of the way cooked. And we'll stir it into the pan. Once the ground beef is cooked, it's time to add the sauce. I'm just using spaghetti sauce from a jar. It's about a 48-ounce jar. We're just going to pour this into the ground beef. Somewhere there's probably a nice little Italian lady that thinks I'm ruining the recipe with store-bought sauce. But hey, we're doing it the simple way. Anyway, the sauce gets mixed in with the rest of the meaty goodness in our pan and set to simmer on a medium-low heat. In the meantime, we're going to pull our noodles off the heat and let them sit to drain and cool. There's nothing worse than burning your hands trying to handle hot noodles. Now that the noodles are cooling and the sauce is simmering, we're going to add a couple of final ingredients. We're going to have some mushrooms. Now, I know there are some people out there who like to harvest their own mushrooms, and that's great. But in this case, I did my mushroom hunting in the fresh produce aisle at my grocery store. And the mushrooms go into the sauce. I've also got 1 can of diced tomatoes, slightly drained. These are going to go into the sauce for the last few minutes of simmering too. Once all that's in, we're going to add some spices. Now I usually use fresh out of the garden herbs, but this is winter time and nothing's growing out there, so I have a commercially available mix of oregano, marjoram, thyme, and basil that I'm going to add to this. Going to give it a couple of healthy shakes and stir this in. Put this all together. The first thing I do is I put just a little bit of sauce in the bottom of the pan, a couple of small scoops, and this just keeps the noodles from sticking. Now we're going to add the noodles. I usually do 3 across because that's what fills my pan up, but if you've got a different size or shape pan, you'll have to do something a little bit different. Just whatever it takes to cover the sauce in the pan. Now we're going to add the first real layer of meat sauce. We're going to ladle this in pretty good, 2 or 3 scoops. We definitely want enough to cover up those noodles. Just scoop it in there like that. Once we have the meat sauce in, we're going to start adding pepperoni. Some people would make nice rows. I'm not that kind of person. We're just going to throw it in any old way it lands. Once the noodles and the meat sauce are in, this is my favorite part. We're going to add the cheese. We need 3 to 4 big handfuls of cheese. Good mozzarella cheese. Maybe a 5th handful. Now we're going to add a little bit of Parmesan. Freshly grated. And a few spoonfuls of cottage cheese, just to add a little bit of creaminess. We're just going to sprinkle this on here like so. It'll melt down nice. Now once the cheese is in, we just keep repeating layer after layer until you run out of ingredients or until the pan is full. Doesn't that look good? Now, the final step is to top it off with a little Parmesan cheese, freshly grated, and my Italian seasoning blend. So we're going to get this all cut up here, and we're going to enjoy this. And here we are, 3 meat, 3 cheese lasagna, fresh out of the oven. Enjoy. Now see how easy it was to make a wholesome meal for the whole family? Thanks for cooking with me today. I hope you've seen how easy it is to make delicious home-cooked meals without spending the whole day in the kitchen. Perhaps we'll see you again on another episode of Just Cooking.